In the world of compact crossover SUVs, Nissan was definitely late to the party when they introduced the Sentra-based Rogue to America all the way back in 2007. Now, because of the country's insatiable appetite for SUVs, this nameplate grew to become one of Nissan's best-selling models, with Nissan even outselling big nameplates like the Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V, with over 400,000 units sold every year. Now, back in 2021, we saw an all-new third generation, so for 2025, Nissan has finally given the Rogue its big update. In fact, it was given last year that includes new updated styling in the front and the rear and a brand new infotainment system that now measures 12.3 inches with Google built in. So as you can see this week, Nissan has loaned us the latest 2025 Rogue in the fully loaded Platinum trim. And the big question I went answered for those of you who are looking for a compact SUV that really focuses more on comfort and luxury and technology, how does the latest version of the Nissan Rogue stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the styling changes that Nissan gave this vehicle last year, let me go ahead and pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering this thing. Now, Nissan keeps it simple, unlike some competitors, by only offering one powertrain option. It was a new engine that was introduced back in 2023. It's a 1.5-liter gasoline direct injection turbocharged 3-cylinder. Now, you don't typically find a 3-cylinder engine underneath the hood of compact SUVs, but this engine replaced the old naturally aspirated 4-cylinder back in 2023. It's part of their VC turbo engine family, which means it's a variable compression turbocharged 3-cylinder measuring 1.5 liters, and horsepower and torque figures are actually pretty competitive. This 1.5-liter motor makes 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque. That's around 20 more horsepower and over 40 more foot-pounds of torque versus the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that the engine replaced. It all goes out through the company's latest Xtronic CVT. So that's right, this vehicle still continues to use a CVT, even though Nissan has been replacing the CVT with a 9-speed auto in some of their bigger vehicle offerings. Now, because this is a downsized engine with turbocharging, fuel economy did improve. This vehicle is rated at 28 in the city and 34 on the highway. That's actually a pretty impressive number considering the fact that this is not a hybrid or a mild hybrid. For those of you who are looking for an electrified powertrain, Nissan is promising an all-new hybrid and plug-in hybrid powertrain design that should be coming sometime next year. So the Rogue should be the first vehicle to get that all-new plug-in hybrid or hybrid powertrain. Now, you can take your pick between their front or all-wheel drive. My particular test car is the Platinum, and it has the optional $1,400 intelligent all-wheel drive system. That all-wheel drive system is standard on the new Rock Creek trim, an off-road oriented trim. Unfortunately, I have a Platinum here, so I won't be able to show you guys that. And with its 14.5-gallon fuel tank, you're looking at around 400-ish miles of range on a full tank. That is thankfully tuned to run on regular gas. So even though this is a VC turbo engine, you can still run it on regular gas. Now, Nissan doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. The last one we tested did it in around 8 seconds. We'll try this one out and see what we can get in the real world. It has a top speed around 125 miles an hour. And this vehicle should tow a maximum of 1,500 pounds on the low end for the segment. And as this car sits, it weighs in at just over 3,700 pounds. But closing the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the exterior styling updates that Nissan made last year. As you can tell, this model here is the fully loaded Platinum trim. The front end is highlighted by a new grille at the front. You can see this is an updated version of the Nissan V-Motion grille. I feel like the grille has gotten larger and larger over the years. It flows nicely, however, with this color. This is called Champagne Silver Metallic. This is actually a free color that's included. Usually Nissan will charge you between $500 to $700 for colors. You can see all Rogues come with the company's full LED headlights, where you can see you have a divorce style for the LED turn signals and daytime running lights. Down here at the lower end, that is the reflector style headlights for the low and high beams. No fog lights on this vehicle, but you can see with the new vertical chrome slats, the new Nissan logo, that larger V-Motion grille with some functional vents over there off to the side. You have some nicely integrated parking sensors along with a full front camera, 360 camera system. And that radar sensor down there is for the ProPilot 2.1. My test car has the optional advanced tech package, which we'll talk about later on. You can see it combines with the camera there at the top of the windshield. But overall, this style has been around since 2021, and it's aged pretty well. The Rogue in general is one of the more stylish looking SUVs. I like how Nissan made it a lot more boxy, a little bit more like, I guess, aggressive. Although again, the Rock Creek model, which is new for 2025, is going to give you the most off-road capable stuff along with some unique styling elements. Now moving around the side profile, you can see this is a unibody SUV, and with a 183-inch long overall length with a 106.5-inch wheelbase. This is a little bit longer than something like a Toyota RAV4. It's around 72.5 inches wide. Compared to the previous generation, Nissan actually kept the dimensions in check. The new Rogue was only about a half an inch longer and about an inch wider than the previous generation Rogue, the second gen. Now looking at the wheels, you can see these are an updated wheel design, a 19-inch wheel that comes exclusively on the Platinum trim. You can also get the same 19-inch wheel on the SL that was on the Platinum. I actually think I prefer the SL's wheels. These seem a little bit more busy to me. It's riding on a 235 by 55 R19 Dunlop Grand Trek all-season tire. You can see this vehicle also has an all-independent suspension with around 8.2 inches of ground clearance. All-disc brakes, of course. No adaptive suspension, just a conventional steel spring. The silver color looks really nice, of course, with the gloss black along the wheel arch trim, along the side sills. The A-pillar here is also blacked out to kind of give it a really nice contrasting look, but my test car doesn't have, as you can see, the two-tone black painted roof, but it does come standard with a panoramic sunroof that's included on the Platinum trim, of course. The mirrors, you can see, are also foldable. They are body colored with integrated turn signals and cameras throughout, but this is not a power folding mirror, kind of an annoying missing option considering the price point of this car. And then you can see there's a little bit of chrome along the window trim. And when you back away from the vehicle, the boxy proportions of the Rogue certainly look nice. Although, again, we've kind of seen this design for a few years now. The Rogue's styling, for me, gets a little bit more bland when you get into the rear. But again, styling is always subjective. Looking at the back, you can see the taillights have like an LED combination, which I actually think they should have been full LEDs considering, again, the top trim of this nature. You can see turn signals are incandescent, reverse lights are incandescent, brake lights and taillights are LEDs. You have a third brake light up there with a subtle rear spoiler along with a rear window wiper that isn't trying to be hidden or anything like that. It's just kind of sitting there on the glass. You can see there's some nice kind of midnight silver accented badges there with the new Nissan logo, the Rogue Platinum all-wheel drive badge. Of course, all-wheel drive is going to let you know that this vehicle has that is from that badge. You can see the bumper is gloss black with some chrome accents. Nicely integrated parking sensors, no visible exhaust tips, of course, so the vehicle doesn't really look any sporty. I think Nissan should have considered doing like an SR trim for the Rogue. That certainly would continue to expand the appeal. And then looking at the cargo area, you can see a hands-free power liftgate is included with this trim. And then when you open up the trunk, the Rogue actually offers more cargo space than some of its competitors. You get around 36.5 cubic feet of cargo space. You also have some really nice underfloor storage, hidden underfloor storage. This is actually what Nissan calls their divide and hide cargo management shelving system. You can also see, if you look underneath here, Nissan does give you another floor there to lift up, and that's where you can find the temporary spare tire, which is nice. If you want to fold down these seats, you can do so from back here. You can see once you fold down both sides of the seats, which is really nice how you can do it from back here, you actually get a almost completely flat load floor, and Nissan says you get a maximum of 74.1 cubic feet of space. 74.1 is definitely on the high end, and it's because the Rogue is a little bit larger than some of its competitors. So if you guys are looking for a compact SUV that offers more space than some of its rivals, you should definitely check this vehicle out. Now moving on to the interior of this 2025 Nissan Rogue. Before we get inside, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the current Nissan Intelligent Access key. It's an evolution of their older key, which was actually a really good design. This new fob is actually still really nice in my opinion. It's a good size. It feels nice in your hands. It's not too bulky. It's got the usual buttons with the new Nissan logo. There's remote start, lock, unlock, power liftgate, and then a panic function. As you can see, when you approach the door handles of the Rogue, they are the traditional pull style. If you want to touch that door handle, that will lock the door for you. This vehicle also offers a walk-away auto lock and unlock function. However, as you can see, the mirrors do not power fold. At this price point, Nissan should be including that. If you want to unlock the door, if you have the auto walk-away unlock turned on, you have to touch the button again. There's no sensor on the back of the handle. Now, as you can see, my test car with the champagne silver metallic has the black semi-aniline premium leather. So this semi-aniline leather with the quilted diamond stitching is only on the Platinum trim. If you guys go for the SL trim, you'll have real leather. However, it won't have the diamond stitching and the quilting. The lower trims like the SV will have either a cloth or their Primatex, which is their leatherette material. These seats definitely are nicer than what you're gonna find in most of the competitors. They have a really supple leather to them. These are the NASA-inspired zero-gravity memory foam seats. These seats are also heated. They adjust in 10 different ways, and you also have a two-person memory on the driver's side. However, if you're looking for cooled seats, Nissan still sadly doesn't offer ventilated seats. And again, at this price point, at the fully loaded trim, Ventilated seats should be included, so I'm not sure why Nissan has refused to add that. Now you can see looking at the door panels, you actually have some nicer materials. You have a soft touch injection molded plastic here, real leather and contrast stitch on this portion of the door handles. You also have relatively high quality window switches, but here's the kicker. These window controls, only the driver's side is auto up and down. Every other window doesn't even have an auto down feature or auto up feature, so inexcusable again at this price point. Thankfully, the controls feel relatively nice. I like this kind of aluminum look trim. Down here it is hard touch plastic with additional storage. And then this trim is the only trim that gets you the 10 speaker Bose stereo system. So if you're an audiophile, you want to go again for the fully loaded platinum trim. Now getting inside with 8.2 inches of ground clearance, the Rogue has a nice easy step-in height. And then when you shut the door has a pretty solid sounding thunk. That rattle that I heard is actually my little garage door clicker here that's mounted to the sun visor, but overall it makes a great first impression. Now starting the vehicle up, you can see start stop button is down here in front of the shifter. And then because this is not a hybrid or a mild hybrid, you can hear it has a traditional starter noise. And then this fully loaded trim comes with the dual 12.3 inch display. So if you go for the SL trims and up, you'll get the fully digital instrument cluster here, which is customizable. And then if you go for the SL trims and up, I believe available on the SV, you get the bigger 12.3 inch display, which has Google built in. It has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it also has over-the-air updates. This system has just gotten a big upgrade in terms of the software, which is actually something that I complained about in the 2023 Rogue, which had the older Nissan Connect system with the 9-inch display. My phone is not connected right now because I'm using it to film and it messes up with the audio system, but as you can see, it's just a lot quicker and snappier and more responsive. The built-in GPS is also now Google. It works fairly well. It's very quick. Again, this is pretty much what you expect to find in your computer built in. It also has voice commands via Google Voice to Text or Voice Assistant. And like I said earlier, it just looks a lot better, and the screen size is definitely an improvement. So in terms of tech, if you guys bought a 23 Rogue, sadly, you're gonna have to deal with the old system. This is much better that was introduced last year, so I really appreciate that. I also appreciate how you still have hard buttons, like for the volume knob, of course. This is for your tuning. I would have preferred a knob for tuning. And then if you push that, that gives you your full 360 camera with moving object detection. It gives you trajectory, of course, parking sensors. The quality and resolution is also good. Automatic emergency braking, of course, is included. So Nissan has always done a pretty good job with their full 360 cameras, although before they were lagging behind in the quality of the resolution. But now, as you can see, they've definitely caught up. You can see a couple of other features they've added. This one has the advanced tech package, so you also have things like an expanded view around view camera system. You can see there's a curb view there. You can also expand this to kind of give you a front view along with an invisible hood view, which again kind of shows you that they've borrowed some technology here from Infinity. I really love that you can do this kind of full 360 perimeter scan. This is like stuff that you typically find on luxury brands, but again, Nissan is including it as part of a $3,200 advanced technology package that rolls in their ProPilot 2.1. So again, it's a little bit pricey, but it's definitely kind of cool how it allows you to do that. You can even change the color of the vehicle that's in the background and go to your display settings over here if you want to increase the brightness of it. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with this camera technology. It's definitely something that you don't typically find in the segment. But again, that full like wide view look doesn't expand over into this screen here like it does on the last Infiniti QX80 or the new Nissan Armada, but it's nice again that Nissan's including that technology. Now down here you can see on the dash you have this really nice leather stitched area with real stitching, real leather covering it. You can see this upper portion is a soft touch injection molded plastic, which is nice. The Platinum also includes a head-up display, which is definitely a nice feature as well. You can see down here you have your tri-zone automatic climate control. The Rogue is the only vehicle in the segment that gives you triple zone. So you have a zone for the driver, the front passenger, and then one for the rear. You don't typically find that, but I would have gladly traded that tri-zone climate for cooled seats. You can see you only have 3 level heated seats. There's a button, a missing area here where you could have cooled seats, and you also have 1 level heated steering wheel. At this price point, cooled seats really should have been included, so I really think that's an inexcusable omission on Nissan's part. You can see down here you've got 2 USB-C charging ports, a wireless phone charging pad. There's even some ambient accent lighting here, and in the door panels at night, it's a decent ambient lighting. You can see this is the electronic shifter that controls the CVT. There's a trigger here. You basically push that, go up to go into reverse, kick down to go into drive, and then push the P button to go into park. I also like how Nissan refrained from using piano black plastic here. Instead, they kind of used a glossy or a metallic look aluminum trim although it's definitely not aluminum. You have cup holders here, your drive mode selector is here, there's the normal mode, there's the eco mode, a snow mode, an off-road mode, and then if you kick it over to the other side, there's also a sport mode. We'll try out the different driving modes when we get the vehicle out on the road. I also like the leather stitching along the console here, big storage area, additional storage area underneath here, along with the padded center console. Open that up, you can see it's relatively deep, along with being able to change your ambient lighting color. You can actually do that here by turning it on and off, which is definitely a nice touch. Pretty deep storage area. I like how this has two separate doors, so if I want to open this up and a passenger has their elbows here, you can still access this, which is nice. These seats, like I mentioned earlier, are just heated. They are the memory foam NASA-inspired zero gravity seats. The semi-aniline leather feels nice. I would personally go for the tan leather as opposed to this black, although the silver color only comes with this black interior, which is a little bit annoying, so you have to go to a different exterior color to get the tan leather. Looking at the dash here, you can see this tries to look like wood, although it's definitely just a plastic with a wood look to it, but it certainly looks nice. But again, this would have been better if it was a lighter color as opposed to the darker color. The glove compartment, you can see, is damped but not lined with felt. It's a bin style. It offers a good amount of additional storage, which is good. The rearview mirror is auto dimming, but there's no digital camera rearview mirror, which is annoying. There's a woven material for the headliner. Unfortunately, there's incandescent lighting for the map lighting, so that's a little bit cheap. And then over here, you can see the panoramic sunroof does open up to actually vent air, which is nice. It only opens up over the two front seats. There's also a built-in wind deflector there. That's the largest that it opens, which is actually not too bad. You can also tilt it, and there's also power retractable shade if you guys don't want the sun beating on top of your head. But overall, as you can see, the interior has pretty good materials, good fit and finish. It's just lacking in some features that it should have. So really what I would like to see is cooled seats, power folding mirrors, which would have been nice. But other than that, and a digital camera rearview mirror, but other than that, it is still a pretty nice place to spend time. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area and show you guys what that space is like if you are going to use this as a family vehicle. The Rogue certainly excels at that. You can see the rear door actually opens up at a huge angle. This is perfect if you guys want to get a child seat back here. You got a nice wide opening. There's also retractable sunshades. You don't typically find that in this segment as well. So that's an upscale touch. Material quality is downgraded back here, but it is leather over here and over here, along with that silver painted plastic door handle. Again, window controls, they are not one touch at the back or on the driver, or only on the passenger front window, only on the driver's side. Hard touch plastic here. These seats, they do offer a slight recline where you can recline them, or you can also fold them flat like I showed you earlier. You can see that diamond quilted semi-aniline leather continues back here, which is nice. And then if you get back here in terms of the rear seat space, Nissan does offer a pretty generous amount at 38.7 inches. 38.7 is more versus what you're gonna get in a RAV4, but a little bit less versus what you're gonna get in a CRV. You can see it has kind of like a stadium style seating where the rear seat is raised up. This is my driving position. I have a ton of foot space, a ton of leg room. As you can see, the center area here is not completely flat. You do have rear seat air vents, and then you, like I said earlier, tri-zone climate control. You have 3 level heated seats along with 2 USB-C charging ports. There's also an armrest that folds down and gives you 2 cup holders here. And then in terms of the headroom, you can see the headrest is in a really nice position actually, and I have a solid maybe 2-3 inches of headroom at 5'7", so pretty good headroom clearance, even though this sunroof does take up space. But overall, as you can see, the Rogue continues to excel as a family vehicle. It even has some features for the back seat that you didn't expect, like the rear shades, the heated rear seats. But again, I would love to see cooled seats in a vehicle, especially for this fully loaded platinum trim. So here we are back behind the wheel of the best-selling Nissan here in North America, the Rogue. As you guys know, the Rogue has been around since 2021, but the company gave it a styling and tech refresh last year for 2024. It's been about 2 years since we had a chance to review the Rogue for you. It was 2023 when they first replaced the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder with this new 1.5-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder with their variable compression technology. Now, this model that we're driving is the fully loaded platinum trim, of course, with all-wheel drive. It basically gets no powertrain upgrades this year, so we should have similar performance. I believe the last one that I tested did 0 to 60 in just a smidge over 8 seconds, if I remember correctly. 8 seconds isn't quick, it's also not the slowest, but it certainly isn't going to be as fast as some of the electrified hybrid options. This model that we're driving here is the fully loaded platinum trim, like I said, with the optional all-wheel drive. It's standard on the new Rock Creek edition, which is the new off-road oriented trim. But let's go ahead and see what we can get 0 to 60 wise this time. We have it in its sport mode here. We're gonna go ahead and brake torque it. All right, we got 0 to 60 in 7.86 seconds there. 7.86 is a smidge quicker versus the last one that I tested 2 years ago. I'm actually genuinely surprised that the Xtronic CVT still continues to mimic shifts even though I brake torque it. Most other manufacturers like Honda with their CVTs, for example, will remove the fake shifting because the fake shifting actually slows the vehicle down when you're trying to get maximum acceleration. So I'm genuinely shocked that it still continues to fake shift. But regardless, this engine certainly is unique in the sense that it is essentially, you can think of it as half of a V6 engine, and it makes a really interesting noise because of it. It almost sounds like very six-cylinder-like, not like a six-cylinder, but I see some hints of it. But let's try another run here. This time we won't brake torque it. Still mimicking shifts, even though my foot is all the way to the floor. 8.77 seconds there, so almost a second slower on that run. Now, I am going more slightly uphill, so we'll take the 7.8 as our quickest time. And in the real world, most of you are going to be getting in the 8 to low 8-second range, which is fine. This 0 to 60 time is nearly a second slower versus the last Toyota RAV4 hybrid that I drove, or the Honda CR-V with its hybrid powertrain, which is standard on the upper trim. So obviously, the Rogue's not going to win any drag races, but you don't buy a vehicle like this, obviously, to go drag racing. What the Rogue does excel at, however, is being a comfortable commuter car. You have these NASA-inspired zero-gravity memory foam front seats, which are comfortable and supportive. They have surprisingly decent bolstering to hold you in place during some cornering. The steering in this vehicle is very numb, light, and devoid of feel. The suspension is incredibly soft. The Rogue definitely skews more toward comfort, much more than some of its competitors out there, which, again, when you pair it with the comfortable memory foam seats, the good visibility, you can see out of the front, the side, and the rear nicely. This A-pillar is nice and thin. Unfortunately, Nissan does not offer a digital camera review mirror, inexcusable considering the price point of this car. It is a competent, easy SUV to drive on a daily basis that gives you a nice, good view of the road. But it's certainly not going to, tempt you into attacking your favorite back roads or, push you into making this car go faster around corners. It certainly can handle it just fine, but it almost feels like the car is like saying, or it's like telling me, don't do that. You should drive at like 7/10 as opposed to 9/10, because again, if you want something sportier, Mazda will happily sell you a CX-50. This car in general, with its intelligent all-wheel drive system, does a pretty good job at putting the power around to the wheels that need it. But what I'm noticing, and this is something I've noticed on some other Nissans with the CVT and this power and the variable compression powertrain, is there's a little bit of a shudder that I'm feeling at mid-range power whenever I'm just accelerating. You can feel a shudder throughout the entire vehicle, which feels a little alarming and disconcerting. I don't love that feeling. I'm not really sure what's going on. This is a production car, not a pre-production car. Let's try one more run here, see if we can get a consistent 7.8. Lots of turbo lag off the line. Combine that with the lag from the CVT, but once the powertrain goes above 3, it feels pretty good. 8.36 there, so that's with it on level ground. So 7.8 was still our best time. Enough of that, because again, nobody buys a Rogue to do 0 to 60 times, although maybe you do. Maybe you want to find something that accelerates faster than some of its competitors. But what I do appreciate about this powertrain, there's that shudder again. What I do appreciate about it is this thing has really solid mid-range power. Anytime the turbo comes on boil at 3,000 RPM, you feel that 225 foot-pounds of torque, which is nice. I'm gonna switch the drive mode here into its automatic setting, or to its normal setting, and that's where the transmission will kind of adjust the ratios to let the ratios go up a little bit to give you better fuel efficiency, of course. The quality, or the quietness in this vehicle also is pretty quiet, aside from the engine, which screams when you put your foot down. But again, it's a unique sound that I don't mind. I actually prefer it over a 4-cylinder drone. So I like the fact that it again has that unique character. In terms of road noise, it's pretty quiet. In terms of wind noise, it's also pretty quiet, as it better be, considering how much more expensive the Rogue is than some of its competitors. But overall, if you guys are planning to use this on, your daily commute or longer trips, that's kind of what most people buy a vehicle like this. You're going to be pleasantly surprised, from the comfortable seats to the improved technology. My test car also has the advanced tech package with their ProPilot 2.1. I've tested this system before, where it now has that camera that watches your face. It offers some hands-free driving. It offers traffic jam assistance, lane keep assist. It's got that full 360 camera with the invisible hood view. So that's technology that Nissan has borrowed from Infiniti, but that package is $3,200, I would skip it, to be honest. I would just deal with the regular adaptive cruise, because I think Nissan has overpriced it for what you get, even though it does come with some nice goodies. But in terms of the fuel economy, this powertrain is pretty fuel efficient considering it's not a hybrid. It's rated at up to 33 mpg combined, 28 city, 34 highway. In my week's worth of testing, I was averaging around 27 miles to the gallon, so just under the 28 mpg. That's in mostly city driving. On the highway, I was getting 35 mpg. So 35 is pretty impressive, and that's again because of the CVT, because the engine in general can vary that compression, the ratio, the stroke to, you know, improve efficiency. But again, the engine's refinement is lacking. It could be smoother. I don't like that shudder. I don't like the lag that you feel off the line. But once you get past all that, it feels good here. So most people, I think, who drive it at like 6/10, you're not going to notice that. If you really start to push the Rogue, that's when you start to feel, you know, the limitations and the, you know, inconsistencies in the powertrain refinement. But overall, I still very much enjoy the Rogue. Nissan could make this vehicle so much better if it was a hybrid, which I'm expecting the new hybrid powertrain to make its way into this car potentially for 2026. It could be a plug-in hybrid as well. I also think that for this price point, Nissan should be including features like power folding mirrors, cooled seats, a digital camera rearview mirror. I mean, those are features that a Toyota RAV4 has, or a CR-V would have, although the CR-V is lacking a pano sunroof. So there are some things that I think Nissan have left out in this vehicle, especially, you know, that shouldn't have been left out considering how much more money it is. But overall, the Rogue is still very much a pleasant SUV. But remember, there's a lot of choices out there. So choosing this vehicle, you know, you have to basically like the way it feels, like the technology, like the Nissan brand in general. But overall, I am still pleasantly surprised with the current generation Rogue. Now, with just under 250,000 units sold in America last year, the Rogue was comfortably Nissan's best-selling model. Although that number again shows that this is the best-selling Nissan, that number is also a far cry versus the 400,000 plus units they did back in 2018. So what has exactly happened? Well, Nissan is kind of fighting an uphill battle here with kind of cleaning up their reputation, because as you guys know, big Ultimate energy is actually a thing around the world, and that's kind of where Nissan is trying to again fix their image with a lot of new products. A lot of their products were getting stale. A lot of their products were getting dated, but the Rogue was kind of the vehicle that started their renaissance back in 2021. So after spending the full week with the latest 2025 model, as you guys saw, the powertrain is definitely solid, but it also is a little bit unrefined in certain times. But 0 to 60 happened in just under 8 seconds, which should be good enough for most people. The CVT transmission is responsive, but it's also a little bit lumpy in its power delivery, along with the lag that you're feeling from the engine. The ride and handling, thankfully, is very comfortable. This is not a sporty vehicle, but the ride quality is good. The cabin is quiet, build quality is solid, the seats are comfortable. So again, for those longer trips, for your daily commute, you're gonna really like what the Rogue has to offer. The backseat is spacious, the interior has good tech, along with that bigger 12.3-inch display with Google built in. It's definitely a nice touch. What really just gives me pause, however, is the fact that Nissan still is lacking some features that I expect. For example, no digital camera rearview mirror, no power folding mirrors, no ventilated seats. That should be features that are included at this top trim, but for some reason, again, it's not available on this car. And then, of course, it's missing a hybrid. A lot of vehicles in this segment really offer an electrified powertrain, which Nissan promises is coming sometime next year, and it honestly can't get here soon enough. Now, if you guys are looking to get one of your hands on one of these vehicles and you're okay with the shortcomings that I was mentioning, the Rogue's pricing starts relatively competitively at just under 30 grand, around 29,000 for the base S trim. If you guys want all-wheel drive, it's around $1,400 extra. Most of you are going to go to the SV trim, which is going to be in the mid $30,000 range. The SL trim is going to be in the high 30s to low 40s, while this fully loaded Platinum trim is going to start at just under $41,000. However, with options that my test car has, like the Premium package and the Advanced Technology package, it's pushing the price to around $48,330. Now, of course, that does include around $1,500 worth of accessories that this car has, but those accessories, again, do make this vehicle a lot more expensive than some of its rivals. I actually wasn't expecting it to be closer to 50 grand. And at that price point, that's kind of where I'm being a little bit more harsher in my criticism for the lack of features, because again, $50,000 or $48,000, you could easily get something like a plug-in hybrid Toyota RAV4 Prime. You can also get a fully loaded Mazda CX-50, a Subaru Forester, a Honda CR-V. There's a lot of options out there. And for Nissan to be charging that much money at the top end makes this vehicle a little too expensive. However, I think the sweet spot is probably the SL trim with the Premium package. That'll that'll be right around 40 grand, which should kind of put it in line with most of its competitors. With all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Nissan Rogue in the Platinum trim. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.